What's up, everybody? It's Amon here. Welcome to a new case series of mine / case of playlist, as you guys obviously see by mixing matter of the name and obviously by the title of the video. What is being said, it's not going to be entirely like Amons Thoughts, even though it is very similar. What is being said, I'm actually going to be doing a case of more inanimate and overarchingly more kind of like brainstormy, creative crafting coming together, and more mind kind of thinking like case of matter of feeling, because with Amons Thoughts, Amons Views, I obviously talk for the most part critically in a bigger anatomic considerable way of going about things that I usually do, even though obviously your boy gotta be in touch with creativity and intricate matter of doing things when you're quoting a lot, you know what I'm saying? But with this case of series of different videos, things like that, and with more stuff of Amons reviews and Amons thoughts, versus about whatever the fuck stuff that I do, as y'all know, I've been trying to be consistent and growing the tree more and more, as I always have. This is going to be talking obviously about how to do a Ghost of Tsushima 2, and it's going to be from my kind of thoughts, but actually my own critical stand of writing and how I would do different matter of things in different forms, and kind of have my own movie review, Friendly Space Ninja, Cosmonaut, Picture, Says Verity, where the fuck type of sense into how I would go about stuff type of video format. That's just kind of a little bit of a synopsis of what this is without going on Martin Luther King's speech, pretty much. I hope you guys will enjoy. It's a matter of content. Tell me what you like, what you don't like. Give me any tips. Give me any objective, solid, critical criticism, what is being said, where the case may be. I want to go and make the best matter of content for y'all and just do my thing, what is being said. But when it comes down to the video, as you guys see by the title, this is how I would do a Ghost of Tsushima 2, and pretty much so explanatory as it is, how to go ahead and make a better version of possibly the already found game that we have on the screen, with this being said, which is Ghost of Tsushima. I hope you guys will enjoy. Like I said before, let's go and get it in. So how I want to go ahead and do a Ghost of Tsushima 2 / do my own considerable case of big thought-provoking overarching discussion take and corresponding with how I would considerably do the story when it comes down to anyone, with this being said, especially since one, I'm not trying to go ahead and think that I'm better or talk like I'm better, with this being said. I just want to say, as a great big fan, thank you to Sucker Punch, thank you to Sony, thank you for everybody that came together with this being said. Shout out to all the comment hours, voice cast, everything was beautiful, the fire, banger, especially to Eden Sakari, if I'm even saying his name right, for the Christians of the OST, with his beautiful OST, let's tell Lord Shimura, and specifically to the YouTuber Life After Phasma for putting this out, but Eden Sakari, probably butchering it, thank you. But the 5 main things that I want to do within the talk of a Ghost of Tsushima 2 is, number 5, bigger exploration. If it is on Tsushima, that's cool, but I want to see the other Kishimaru Islands or Pacific go to mainland Japan, as it would be the biggest place possibly go and explore, and I thought I would show a bunch of different capabilities of stuff, especially give bigger inanimate stuff to someone like Jin in different scope or different things, right? 3, more busting story in a bunch of different cases of ways, right? Number 1, being something of different stand for the character of Jin, but number 2 also would help with this, with being new myths of Japan. And I mainly mean in the case of showing different matter of folklore, maybe go into some more supernatural stuff, but still trying to keep it in the sentimental ground of just historical fantasy, right? But keep it, again, consistent, strong, like originally what For Honor was going for. And again, when I said number 1, we'll tie more into that, as I'm not saying Ghost of Tsushima has a bad story. You know, it's one of the biggest stories of all time for me. I love it, especially as a weeb, strong anime fan, and most importantly a lover of Japanese culture, history, mythology, all that shit. I love the culture, I love the feel and all that, and I just basically want as much of a good story, especially with a dope ass antagonist like I have Khotun Khan here, especially if they still want to go with Mongols or possibly go about other people in the line of it, right? And number 1 is make Jin a symbol. I'll talk more on that, but those are pretty much the 5 things we're going to be talking about and discussing in this video. I hope you guys will enjoy, like I said before. Let's go ahead and talk about number 5, bigger exploration. When it comes down to big exploration, I mainly mean in this case, obviously by the title of this 5 point, being when it comes down to going around whatever world that Ghost of Tsushima takes place in, with this being said, being very more enactment and exploration and elaborate and different case matter for coursing down, as within the first run of Ghost of Tsushima that I had, as I've had 2 runs from the case of New Games Plus, and same time running the general run, aka my playthrough of Ghost of Tsushima, my first time playing it obviously. And I went around, played some different missions that couldn't be seen just throughout going through the mainline stuff or the different allied missions and things like that, you know what I'm saying, the general run of things within the story. But at the same time with my second run, I plan to go ahead and play it a little bit more RPG, just going around with my horse, peeking the area, enjoying the music that comes with this riding about and seeing about what makes the case of the entire world of Ghost of Tsushima cool. And obviously when I say where I'm talking about in the same sense of the open world / in the cusp of very creative all-around case of imagery and scenery, because obviously we're on Tsushima Island, we can go to Iki Island from the DLC, and both islands are beautiful and superb. So in this case of being the Ghost of Tsushima 2 and still taking place in Japan, as I wouldn't think they would go anywhere else unless Jin would have to be forced off from the case of the lands of his home, or would have to go and help somebody else. As with Ghost of Tsushima 2, I still want it to be in Japan. I would never want to take it away from Japan within a hypothetical trilogy. With this being said, maybe I'll think about that more. But for the second place to be, I would say is mainland Japan. The different cities, different high matter structure, different planes, and different adventuring and coolness within it, and all around just go around very grand scope, cool place with great case of imagery, very cool case of matter of scenery in almost every place, and just have very busting and cool time with it. Different matter of architecture, different matter of myths, legends, samurai, ronin, different cases of enemies, and with possibly the case of the plotline that still would involve Mongols, but also other regarded people unique to the cases of the Mongols, samurai, bandits, and ronin, would make it very interesting. And I think with some of their societal regarded people and different case matter struggles that come with mainland Japan and all around the whole plot line within the mix of the shogun and his different samurai chasing you, I think will just be interesting. Especially the different capabilities that come with them, different weapons for different enemies, very unique place storylines, characters, you know, if you did all of Sensei Chikawa stuff, the ending with Tomoge going to case of mainland Japan, and it's actually Tsunoe. I thought Tomoge because of the case of the Mongol general. No, Tsunoe, the law student of Sensei Chikawa and the woman that we've been hunting down the entire time. Damn near with his entire case of matter for missions. With Tsunoe, you can go ahead and go over there and peek about how she's doing, and I think that would be cool with this being said. But yeah, that's pretty much it for number 5, big exploration and different things like that. Time to go ahead and talk about number 4, more variety in the number 4, like I said, being more enemies, in this case, of different variety. In this case, what I mean, as I already talked within the modern capability to number 5, is the fact that we got a great, unique splurge of different enemies. If in this case you're fighting Mongols of all different shapes, sizes, and capabilities, as being said, like in the case of a Far Cry game. We got bandits, a general case of fodder. You have ronin that are unique, hard, very skillful, and can match a great warrior like you, even depending on occasion, especially like me, who is getting foddered by ronin left and right here and there within his first time considerably playing by the down low, or in specific to the case of the Ronin regard leader, the greatest matter of Ronin, Ryuzo, who at first was over here clapping my cheeks and slicing me up back to back. I was over here getting fucking watermelon spliced with this man multiple times over. But besides that, what these type of unique enemies would be people that add more flavor to the already enemies that we have. So in this case, if it's still involving Mongols, you can still have the Mongols, up them, pull some different uniqueness, like with Iki Island, having a guy that has multiple weapons and use them in multi different variety, fast, efficient, brutal, then a guy that's literally just fucking Khotun Khan with annoyance, just having a fucking spear weapon that's able to just to freaking run through you. In this case, you could have Ronin, even allow them to have different weapons like dual wield Ronin and Naginata Ronin. You can even have a Ronin with size that could be a little bit more optionally annoying to not. And then someone, again, like I said, to reiterate, who struggled with some Ronin but was still able to defeat them, and again was getting clapped and multi-case split by Ryuzo. I feel like all around it was still a cooler feel in the stand of packing the heat and doing different cool things in comparison left and right with the others, right? So with this being said, I feel like how I did things in all account of the fights was mixed case of stance to each other with all these different people. I feel like you really got to up the difficulty to really be stingingly on the fact that all the case of the fighting relies on you being the most proficient and versatile fighter these people have ever known, mixing up, being very inanimate in the way to go about things and all that. So that's kind of where that whole thing comes from to me, what is being said. So yeah, but with these enemies, I'm still involved in the case of characters, different things like that, would be number one, the fact that with having Mongols, Ronin, the bandits, and all that, even considered samurai, I would like them to have unique stuff, as obviously there's historical fantasy, and it's not based on actual matter of history, yes, but I do want them to showcase a good deal of historical stand within the case of these different samurai and different things like that. I want archers. I don't want just samurai pulling out the katana and running up on you. I don't have a problem with something like that. It's just the fact that I obviously would want uniqueness in different case of cool variety and all matters of things along those lines. Now, when it comes down to the whole kind of movement and different things, with that being said, that come together with someone like Jin attacking, Naginata could be good to put him off his feet, switchblade him up in the case of different movement like a Khotun Khan would do stuff, but I would want to be more unique than just Khotun Khan's feel of it, like how Norio, other bandits with spears, or even Mongols, same thing, but I kind of want like a Nobushi, kind of just spread them out, really like chip him. I want you to really like light spam me sometimes with it, and some different occasions you can say would be annoying and broken, but I want that to be the guy. I want there to be a guy or a girl, even considerably, for, you know, bandits and shit. Where the form and matter be the case, I don't know if they would actually allow you to fight women in this case, being bandits slash thugs slash delinquency regard opponents, which is being said they'll put the most ruffian regard things, because no section on the stamp. Considerably, that wouldn't be the case depending on the occasion, but there are female warriors who can fight females in the tshushima in the case of being mercenaries, doing things like that. And there were female warriors, the samurai, so they could show that as a mainline thing in Japan, and also show that some females get down and dirty in different matter of thievery regard things, as being said, because we shouldn't just exclude females from the capability of being bad people, especially in the count of being like Yakuza running people, especially like in Ovigi Cove, what is being said. And I'm not saying that they do that specifically with that, because again, they show equal rights, equal blades, what is being said. But I'm just saying that in this instance, I feel like that if you want to show that in all form equality, do that, right? Having men and female. There might be specific groups where it wouldn't be like that, like the Mongols is indefinite to be just males, especially because of the amount of the culture and timing. Okay, bandits, no. Okay, Ron, no. Samurai, different, and a different matter of thugs, criminals, things like that. That should be generally have to get past in different matters and stuff, especially being in a bigger overarching scope, city considerably within feudal Japan's mainland. That would be interesting. And when it comes down to the fighting respective with them. I feel like that would be the kind of bushi stand that it would have. Not just because of not because other weapons, you could try to make different uniqueness with. But again, I don't want them to go ahead and erase the overarching motto. I just want them to build off of it, like case of like different Assassin's Creeds, dated from like Assassin's Creed 3 to 4 to 5. All of it going in a very cool record of feel is being said. And I mainly mean specific Assassin's Creed 3 with Connor, Assassin's Creed 4 with his grandfather, Edward Kenway, the Ghost, King of the Pirates. And then you have, in this case, sorry, that was just an alert for someone, okay? Yeah, anyway, like I was saying, with 5 being someone like Shay Patrick Cormac. So doing that, I feel like would be cool. And then the other type of enemy besides the type of people, if you wanted to have a Mongol invasion still going on, especially with the case of the antagonist I have in mind for the story, you could have, again, like I said, variety of different Mongols, or even have different people from different cases of countries that are aligned with the Mongols, like South Korea. You could have Indian people, you have some Chinese wars. You could really mix it up with whip blades, with different matter of gunpowder. I'm not saying like guns, even though considerably of the time it wasn't exactly a matter of gunplay, but it is a similar amount of gun weapons. And they do allow a Mongol to pretty much have a rocket shotgun, so I mean, take your poison with that, you know what I'm saying? But I would definitely say you could have a bunch of different mix-ups with this. And again, this is just brainstorming, just talking about it from the case matter for listening, different matter of things that I've talked about within this. But that's it for the case of number 4. More variety of enemies, more variety of things was being said. Well, it comes down to that. Time for number 3. More bussin' story.
Samurai! Do you surrender? Cowards without honor deserve no mercy. No mercy! Open fire! For tshushima! Charge!
Number 3, more bussin' story. As you see, obviously, within the intro point of this topic, obviously the story already has something engaging. The first game takes place in 1247 AD, aka CE, in the case matter of after death, to a case of Common Era, within feudal Japan, on the great island of Tsushima, with a protagonist Jin Sakai riding out with his uncle Lord Shimura, the Jito of the island. Now, when it comes down to this engagement, it's already slapped and defined enough, right? There's nothing else more necessarily need to be had or done to really degrade or upgrade from, even though they would up the scale obviously more as you go with the game, as this is just the first act technically. Now, when it comes down to this stuff and everything that makes the case of the game be what it is putting you inside the case of the stakes, showing a great feel of realisticity and heartache stand within everything, and all around just making the overarching purpose of the story stand strong and all around the purpose at hand, right? And that's the main thing that matters the most to me, with making it feel like an actual story that you're ingrained into and not just moving with it, right? You know, everything corresponds into a form of act to make your character be who he is at the end, everything else, which most great deal stories do. And with this, I want them to up the scale with it. So, involving the actual story take, it will have 3 acts like usual. If you want me to discuss different cases of introspective things or even a DLC, that's fine. But the main story, we're going to have Mongols, but in this case, going the fantasy route. And the antagonist, such as main driving force, will be twice the number stand of the Mongols in the grander scope, being able within the mix of the already going on story that was left off, with someone like Jin being hunted for the rest of his days in the account of his father figure, Uncle Shimura, if he would die or not. It doesn't necessarily change the story stand, but if in the form that you're like me with the good ending where he lives, talking about how the ghost will be hunted for the rest of his days, the samurai / or in case of matter of shogun's forces are already hunting you, and in the mix of them hunting you and all these different cases of political case discussions, debates, and rock of different things going on within the people of Japan, the Mongols come back for vengeance. They obviously heard, that Khotun Khan, cousin of Kuba, grandson of Genghis, a great Mongol leader in general, died at the hands of a samurai in Tsushima, and Now they send somebody else to come there. Now, with a multi-case discussions, they would think that his cousin, Kublai Khan, would come. But if you actually know anything about history, you know that Kublai Khan is this obese emperor of China who sent out kind of how someone like Lord Schumler insinuated it, just to go ahead and pillage and run through different places at his command because of the fact that he lived in his shadow, kind of in the words of Khotun Khan, even though he could just be saying this just to get someone like Jin to rock with him, or he actually means that truly. And because Khotun obviously was not a real person, and we can only take a little bit about how he talks in hypotheticals of the fact how Mongols move, that he was sent out to try to gain some great deal of honor like his grandfather did in the conquering of places. And in this case, the first step would be to conquer Japan, a place that in comparison numbers is so low and barely existing in the same stand of the world. So it's like him coming over here was this a stepping stone for him, but it will be his downfall, as he never knew a guy named Jin Sakai was the GOAT. So they would either send a made-up another case of commander in this case, considerably, because of the fact of Khotun being a general. It could be another family member of the Mongols. It could be another high-end person around the history. You could actually go to historical means. But in my opinion, I feel like you could have Kublai Khan come and reimagine the man. He could be like Khotun. He could still be fat. He could still be like a Thor level threat, where you know his appearance might look off, but his form of grade A fierceness would not be in the regards of his skill, his mightiness, the other fields, how he would go about things. It would be in his strategies, his mind, intellectualism, his numbers. He would be able to craft every type of way to dissolve the strength of the samurai and play us like chess while we're over here playing checkers like stuff. And his fighting skill could still be at form, because we obviously got to fight the man, even though we could have a Far Cry situation where his skills are not entirely defined by skill, entirely a physical paw for paw, ball for ball. Like you couldn't see Jin straight up, so he uses a lot of men, he uses a lot of the environment that we fight him on, and it comes together a lot of different ways to try to deconstruct and falterize our entire case through a plan of operations of different inanimate, convoluted plots and different unfolds of that plot with douse us in flames in this case of analogy. And so I believe that if you would have Kublai Khan roll up like how his cousin would do, with a different weapon, unlike the Guandao, even though I feel like it could be a good weapon. Me personally, I feel like he could have dual Guandis, aka Tiandi's weapons of swords, correct me if I'm wrong on the naming of them, what is being said, to make him be unique in this instance, and kind of have him be like a Jedi regard character in comparison. I think that his all-around feel could be imposing, but also have off-put, because this man is some fat slob commander commanding all these different Mongols, bigger, scarier, more powerful, all that shit, and coming together a very interesting take. Because Khotun, his physicality was the main stinging form. He was brutal, tenacious, had ferocity, and was a very strategic person. But I feel like what makes Kublai be more in fear sense, be more striking, is that you don't have the whole plan laid out. You don't really have a guy that's kind of just painting full picture of his plan and different methods of misdirection and kind of different cracking at the bones of the defense, right? You have a guy that already has spearheaded through considerably the main stand and is coming more ways for following of that defense and different ways of hitting the stones that keep it standing like stuff. He'll really dissolve every essence of possible stand against someone like him. He'll really prick at a character's mental. He'll really bring some philosophical ideals and really step it up. So in the mix of Jin trying to fight with the samurai that are hunting him or whatever on Tsushima, Tsushima would be overran by him considerably. And the same thing that happened at Komoda Beach will happen bigger. He'll have a multi-case terrain to call his own. He'll really stamp his foot down on the people of Japan's necks. And he'll push out to Japan mainline core places. In this case being Iki and other islands around. And Jin will kind of have to hop between these different planes of his different following because of how much of his allies and people that support the Ghost are put out of commission. And so a lot of characters that we had likeness for, I feel like would either die or be off put because of that. And so I think in the end that your type of goal should obviously be to obviously stop him. And again, with him, Kublai Khan, grandson of Genghis, the actual grandson to understand of history, obviously, will push up Japan mainline places and go and try to kill him because of obviously vengeance, but also convey that even though there maybe was some likeness to Khotun, he always knew that his pride on trying to strike the highest stand of general was going to put him in the grave eventually, right? Because he couldn't stand to the same testament of an adamant planner and all around devise the greatest sense of conquering beyond comprehension like he or even their grandfather did as well. He always thought that Khotun was the lowest of the family name. He always thought that he never could really ignite the same fire that would purge through all different count of different places like their legacy has did for so long. Because remember, I really want his whole family, the whole purpose that he does what he does, because his people were built off of this. They were built off the backs of no mercy, slaughterizing niggas left and right with no case of compassion, just straight up brutacious monsters. I'm talking Black Air Force energy, my nigga. I want every motherfucker to know this, left and right, that he do not play around with anything in the step of his way. He is simply put the guy that your girlfriend told you not to worry about times 5. And in the story, Jin would try to make new allies for all these different case points. For obviously his allies that would still be alive from Tsushima, allies on Iki, different people from the different kind of the islands around it, especially mainland Japan. But yeah, that's pretty much the story as a basis. I know I talked for a while, but I wanted that to be bigger and more explained, you know what I'm saying, and different forms, because obviously we need to talk about the whole more busting stories. Ghost of Tsushima already has a 10 out of 10 story for me, with very animate compellingness, very dope music, very alignment stuff, and I feel like they would capture on this, but I really want the story to really focus on Jin trying to go about different things more than what he could before, because at least in that sense he was fighting just in the war, he was fighting just for his people in this instance, and all that, but Jin now has to fight on a global stand, it feels like, for everybody in Japan. He has to be the nigga that's giving the streets of Japan hope, literally. He was just helping out and being a great solver for a lot of cases of the deeper and bigger conflicts, but now over in Tsushima, it's bigger and badder now. It's a lot more of a overwhelming case of matter of stuff, you know what I'm saying? So that's kind of where that comes down to. Anyway, time to talk about number 2. New myths of Japan. When it comes down to 2 new myths of Japan, obviously explain pretty much the gist and self-explanatory, and I don't want to go on there and Mother King's speech even without a case matter of this topic being very mixed in how you interpret it. Obviously, like I just said, reiterate, be self-explanatory, and the feel of these myths would go in multiple different forms with just the techniques that Jin have already from the case of the game beforehand and how he would use them, being in multi different forms of possibility, how he would learn new things, being considerably more harder, being a lot more anatomic complex within the lore, how he would use them, possible different methods of weaponry that he would use to correspond different forms of different things, using the case of kunai, his knife, the Clan Sakai katana that he has, and different matter of uniqueness from this stuff, especially how to deal with different enemies and different quick inanimate force, showing the brutality, the cleanness of it, all that type of stuff. You know, I really want them to up it. And then at the same time, this goes from the matter of mythology and different fantasy that's incorporated into the game, the connection to different animals like the foxes, deers, cats, even dogs, anatomy coming together with a lot of different foreshowing of how a person would utilize these different things to, one, build up Jin's character with a different matter of emotion, purpose, and different anatomy stuff along those lines in a lot of different ways, in a lot of different cases be a way to really build off of the world and what Jin is fighting for in different occasions. And then there's also mixed with the techniques or different paths that you could go down in the game. I don't know, to get new technique capabilities in the mix of your freaking skill tree, and also corresponded together with how you would get maybe armor, like going to go and face someone like Black Hand Riku for armor, but also a way to step it up in your deflecting game. Things like that. Just things all around that would be incorporated that they built off of with Iki Island, with the Eagle, and pulling some very dynamic and clean credit of stuff that will really being a new means of pop. You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of where that comes from, to be fair, right? And when it comes down to the mainline purpose of the Mist, again, not to go on a Murder King speech, even though obviously, as you can tell, I'm very energetic, very loving to this case matter topic, and I am a big fan. I'm a great fan, I would say, about talking about how to really step it up with this game, in my opinion, because of the fact that, first of all, the game already is phenomenal from the case of the main game to the DLC, no glazing, and I really feel like they have the potential to be great, and people are just talking about the hypothetical and stuff. I really want us to talk about the inedible, because something like this game is something that most people could never expect from everything. It's something you would expect mainline from Ubisoft, but Solar Punch like did stuff different. You know what I'm saying? Like they hold a whole new way of doing stuff, and I mainly mean count of Sour Punch in the case of type of like all the different bussin' that they put, because Sour is so bussin', what is being said, because it's really Sucker Punch, because again, this is a case of compliment, and when I say Sour Punch, I mean an attack of like all different bussin' that they do, not attack, but like attack, not as like attack like that. It kind of sounds weird when I sit down. That's technically a matter of word. I mainly mean, without going off deep end, what is being said, with this whole talk, is that mainline, I'm pitching this as a whole case of big tech, what is being said, of gluttonous and dopeness at the same time. You know what I'm saying? I just want it to be clear that with this gluttonous, that this game is one of the greatest games to deserve the capability to have a sequel, and the praise for how much that it does. Because Assassin's Creed Ghost of Tsushima would be a dope title for this game if it was from Ubisoft, but it's its own thing, it's its own matter of property, even with it being the Japanese Assassin's Creed game that fans of Assassin's Creed and other type of games have always wanted, and I definitely think it's peak goated, you feel what I'm saying? So, yeah, I mean, I really think that this game deserves all of that, and with these myths and different talking things like that, especially with lore from the other islands, especially mainline Japan, would be dope, especially because of the different lores that we get that build up different legacy or purpose or moves from Tsushima, like how Lord Shimura back in the day took out Lord Yarikawa, the different foundation for the hatred and dislike someone like Shimura, and correspond also with the bad and also the good of Kazumasa Sakai, the devil of Clan Sakai, and all the other kind of things that make them cool and dynamic characters, what is being said. So yeah, that's just like a small tank of example for how and why that's dope in its own right, right? But yeah, pretty much it. When it comes down to number 2, Miss Japan, and time for the final one, and possibly the longest one, the big one that is going to hold a lot of different weight in the case of how things, of course, on with different characters, a different matter of things. Number 1, Jin becoming a symbol. What I mean by making Jin a symbol is, in this sense, instead of what he was as a ghost, what is being said, a legend, something that people could just clinch to, as in the hopings of something to protect them, that's just not actually a being, what is being said, and that's obviously a technical kind of person slash an effect of what happens when the world changes in the worlds of Jin Sakai, the ghost, the last member of Clan Sakai, nephew to Lord Shimura. When something like the Mongol invasion happens to you, and you're outgunned, you're outmen, you're outrun by everything, something that will help the most in this day's time is hope. The thing that, in the words of Pandora from God of War, is the thing that makes us strong, is the thing that we hold dear the most when everything feels lost. And besides the kind of matter of faith, agree, disagree, and a kind of a higher power and perception of something beyond yourself that could poke into your whole being and make you be something stronger, something that could press on your soul to let you know that you are strong, is a person or thing that could really reckon on the idea of will, hope, and strength in the hardest times. You know what I'm saying? Like, you have someone like Jin that is going out his way to fight and do everything they can, and it's a solidification of Black Air Force energy. That sucker punch made so bussin' in every case of the matter, and in the end showcase that there is more things to the matter of war than just a code, a condition, or the matter of integrity to a lord or whoever was being said, and went down a road similar to the matter of assassin going beyond slash doing more than what was set out for him in a different case, right? And simply put, just standing proud in the stance of maneuvering and outgoing and really flatlinely just pressing on with what he believed in, even after being called a traitor, after having his clan disbanded, what is being said. He would still stand strong with his ideals and for the people, as he always have. In the words of Jin Sakai, he sacrificed everything for his people, and he would do it again. And so when someone like Kublai Khan or whoever the next Mongol threat is, with his South Koreans, Indians, some Chinese or Gar-looking forces, he paves the way for other people to rise up in different parts of all Japan that can. As this is a war for their survival. This is not just a war for an island, their home. This is a war for everything that they know. Everybody gotta step up. Bandits, ronin, thugs, all kind of criminals. Even the shogun gotta let go of what he set out to do for the entire time of him being a shogun. Not everything you should make the shogun be a considerable like secondary antagonist or somebody that you kind of have a mixed case of affiliation with, in the stance of being a truce in the mix of everything that has happened on the island of Tsushima. You gotta pick new strike of being the GOAT stand of all of Japan. You gotta become the thing that people always have wanted, which in this case is somebody to step beyond what the shogun's highest stand is and be a savior to all of you. You got to give the streets of Japan hope like no other. And I proudly believe that within giving the people of Tsushima hope, someone like Jin will echo throughout all of history in this version of mankind. I mean, he will just strike new crack of the code for being a hero. I mean, he's just done something that nobody else could have or would have in the same scenario, considerably. In his vital force, it seems nothing but indomitable, nothing but unstoppable, nothing but impossible to face, right? And so him being a nightmare to the Mongols beforehand gets stepped up. He got to fight beyond his limits. He's losing people in the mix of the fights, but he stands strong and fights for everything that he could possibly lose, because obviously it means dear to him, but also because no one else will. He has to be the person and nobody else will be. And most importantly, the samurai would see honor in what he's doing more than the considerable shogun's law, because again, what the shogun believes in, even though not entirely by definition of concept is flawed, has some cracks in the mix of the purpose, because simply put is the wrong way to considerably go for different credit of things. He simply just is not in all full the person to really look to as the savior, because shogun's main thing is obviously to uphold order. But when that order is cracking, your men are cracking, they're starving from whatever fortunism is coming their way, and more dispatchment of soldiers is becoming nothing but bodies to try to stave off the demons outside. It really comes more and more to a crunching halt morally, that you need to do all you can to save people, because that's all that matters. And I feel like this is a whole nation of Japan, because Tsushima's been ran, Iki's been ran, these other places have been ran, and it's very hard to try to stand tall in the mix of war. Because truly, what is honor in the desperation of war? What are we fighting for? Are we fighting for a man at the top of our people who is not showing enough damn care for it really to be different? Or are we fighting for each other? We fighting for our lives out here, and we should leave that as the standpoint of what we're doing. We should not just be fighting because we're said to. We should fight because we should, because we want to, and that's what it matters. You know, that's what it matters about. You know what I'm saying? And I really feel like that should be the main stand direction of everything. Not saying like how they possibly want to course about a different matter of things, like, oh, Jen does this and this in a different form. I'm not saying that's bad, but like I just said, to rescind my statement, that's when all it matters, right? That's why it matters here, because of the fact that, again, when you're faced with all the case of possible challenge, you're backed against the corner, all odds are stacked against you. That is why it matters, you know what I'm saying, the most, because of the fact that it's unfortunate that no one in Japan would plan for, because of the fact that they're thinking that this one person would solve all the problems, and there possibly be a great time of peace. Because I would like this game to take place as long as it took for them to put it out, because Ghost of Tsushima came out in 2020. Right? I don't know exactly the date. I know it's like the middle of the year. I know it definitely was in the mix of the pandemic, and I saw it back when I was over in 8th grade, like shit, right? And then everything else, right, happens in the mix because of the fact that the time between it is that far. And then everything within the modern day case matter, aka within our time, right, is makes the pandemic impossibly the push to go about it. So say Ghost of Tsushima comes out next year, aka 2024, which is pretty much right around us, right? From 2020, from that time with his birthday and different kind of releases being said, that would take to 3.5 to 4 years at this point of it not being released. So a 4 to 5 year time skip, I thought it would be good to set up all the grant in case of enforcement that will be coming its way to Japan, and the all-around case of massacre that will be built off of the account of all the different cases of progress you made through Tsushima to Iki, right, and come back in full. And I feel like that will really step it up and bussin' to me, right? So yeah, that's pretty much it for this whole discussion regarding thing. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. It's a new case matter of, again, playlist for me in this case, how I would do things. It could be Amons Thoughts or reviews, but in this case is going to be, I feel like, how Amon would do things, like it's being said, type of series, something like that. I don't know exactly the name. By the time you guys see this video, I've probably already thought of the name. Editing, Amon could put that in with it's being said. I'm kind of tired now. I'm going to go ahead and take a break with it's being said. Again, like I said, I hope you guys have enjoyed for the count of the bus and stuff that I've said, and just know why it matters what is being said for the cultivation of a new stand of something. Not to be a legend, not to be a samurai, but to be a symbol of hope. Jinsaka really giving these niggas Tsushima hope, dog. Anyway, I love you. I'm going to see you guys next one. Peace out, Marmy. Love ya.